Staying with security matters, President Bola Tinubu has thrown his weight behind state policing, noting that the creation of a decentralized force has become necessary more than ever. Tinubu made the remarks while receiving a delegation of prominent Katsina citizens led by Governor Dikko Rada at the presidential villa in Abuja. The president also directed security agencies to review operations in Katsina following a surge in banditry and announced plans to deploy advanced military hardware and surveillance equipment. The engagement comes following the deadly attacks, including the killing of worshippers in Nguwa, Mantao, and the burning of homes in surrounding villages by bandits, a situation that has deepened public concern over the safety and security of residents. There's more in this report.
Tinubu has met with key stakeholders from Katsina State to address the worsening insecurity situation across the region. The meeting held recently at the presidential villa in Abuja focused on finding lasting solutions to the surge in violent attacks, including killings and abductions that have left communities in fear.
We wish to draw urgent attention to the recent surge of insecurity in some parts of our state. We particularly refer to the tragic incident in Nguwa Mantau village in Malumfashi local government, which claimed the lives of 25 innocent lives.
Directed all the security agencies to energize further, to look at the strategy again, additional deployment of air drones, and if they have to shift movement in between Katsina and other boundary areas, they should do so. And they're going to give me a feedback by tomorrow.
The talks come in the wake of a recent attack in Nguwa, Mantao on August 19, 2025, where armed bandits stormed the mosque, killing scores of worshippers, kidnapping others, and setting homes ablaze in a nearby village.
My addition to this, in building local communities, we need to build their capacity, skill acquisition at various levels is urgently needed in order to curb this unemployment.
On the security, Mr. President has committed himself that there is going to be an increase in the number of troops that will be deployed in the state and assets for the military, and also he has promised intervention with air power.
The government says it is working with security agencies to bring an end to the bloodshed in order to protect the lives and properties of citizens. In Abuja, for News Central, Bettina Unwili.
Many thanks, Bettina. Security analyst Dr. Dickson Osajie joins me now for this conversation of national importance. Thank you very much for being here. Let's start with the president's reaffirmation of his commitment to continue to fight insecurity. And I mean, he talked about strategies and overhauling of that in Katsina, considering what has happened in recent times. Talk to us about your assessment of what he has done in his time in the presidency that compels some sort of confidence in the affirmation he's given on the fight against insecurity.
Oh, thank you very much. I think I really appreciate the position of the president and the stance, because one thing is all about speaking and another is about action. And I think he's trying to put action in place instead of speaking and talking. You know, Nigeria have been suffering from this multi-dimensional security threat simply because we've not had an efficient strategy to, deal with these criminal elements bedeviling our great country, Nigeria. From the east, west, and north, we've come across various forms of criminal activities, from kidnapping to banditry to terrorism, assassination, and various formation of crime. And they've seen Nigeria as a vulnerable place to commit this crime and go scot-free, capitalizing on our vulnerable borders and also taking shelter from their governed space. So the president himself has called the service chief on various occasions and gave them a marching order to ensure they bring this criminal element to justice and eliminate them from our territorial space. But still, we are suffering from multi-dimensional threat and attack of our people every day and now, and that is a good time for us to commence this is a good time for us to commence the state policing. as the president has advised, that that is the way to go, because previous administration have tried to debate this, and there's no result from this debate. So I think he has come on board to advise on this debate, and that tells you that the section 214 of the 1999 Constitution will have to be abolished. It will have to go by state policing, because that Constitution, that section states that there will be no any other police force in exception of the Nigerian police. So if that state policing is coming to stay, then the section 214 will have to be abolished.
State policing as regards what he said, but let's talk about these suspects that have been arraigned, because for a while now, a lot of persons have been saying, how come there's been, it looks like nothing is happening in terms of justice, arrests, some sort of prosecution in the cases happening in Benue particularly, and Plateau State. What's your thought on these suspects that have been arraigned by the government and the accusations against them? Is it enough to assuage the concerns about, you know, nabbing people and getting culprits to pay the price?
Well, it's so sad, and I will tell you that my country, Nigeria, has paid a lot of us, and it's very disturbing to see a country like Nigeria forgiving or pardoning criminal elements, terrorists, labeling them as repentant terrorists, labeling them as those who have laid down their arms. And this is also an avenue for futuristic criminals to capitalize on this, these tactics of the Nigerian government. From a while ago, a few years ago, the United Arab Emirates released some list of terrorism sponsors, and the federal government were unable to, bring them to book or, name and shame them. And we've, debated this on various fora that we need to name and shame these people that are sponsoring terrorism. We cannot go after the fighters or after, the guys on the boots. You need to go after their sponsors, go after the head of these people. But now this suspect that were paraded today is not it's not an achievement, because the number of people that have been killed within the Nigerian space is very, very disturbing, and we paraded about 9 people. Let's see how it goes. Speedy justice is another issue we have. We could see what happened between the Finnish government and Simon Ekpa, how they carried out the speedy judgment. Pre-trial processes took them about 3 months, and the execution order was given. An order was given for him to be detained and locked up for 6 years. That tells you that the Finnish government has an effective judicial system. Right. One of the major problems we have in our country is crime and punishment. If we don't have an effective punishment measures in place, crime will keep on flourishing, and that is where we are today in our country. Crime will flourish in the absence of punishment. Okay,
let's take a thought quickly before we go to the state policing conversation. The president talked about enhancing the capacity of forest guards in Katsina. What are your thoughts about using forest guards as, one of the measures to fight insecurity in that state with what we've seen in recent months?
All right, the president needs to be well advised that when it comes to security management, 3 factors are responsible, not just human factors. Bringing the forest guards are human factors. What about the technological approach? I overheard the president talking about drones. That's fine. That's technological approach. Because the whole essence of security is not for you to send your officers and men to be killed like chicken. It's for you to send in drones to carry out the surveillance activities within the enemy suspected position, and then you can send in troops or send in some beautiful bombardment and take out this enemy threat. So for me, the establishment of forest guard is also very important, because our forests for a very long time has not been manned by technological manning and the human manning.
All right.
And that is why most of this terrorist group, pass through that vulnerable areas and take that area as their shelter. So the forest guard is a welcome development.
All right. Let's talk about what the president said about state policing. He reminded everyone that as of February 2024, a committee was set up. States were supposed to bring in their reports. So far, as of March, unless I'm wrong, as of March, 20 states were still outstanding with their reports. And he mentioned that. But is there something that the presidency could do to hasten the efforts towards state policing, perhaps compelling states to bring their reports so that the committee can do a holistic job?
Well, most of the countries in the world operating a federal system of government, applied state policing, and that's why they are able to respond to crime with speed and momentum. Americans practices state policing, India, Canada, and Australia with other countries in the world. So I don't think Nigerians should be, looking away from that that possibility of having state policing, but we have to also look at the argument in favor of state policing and also the concerns. The argument in favor of state policing for me, as a security consultant, why I call for state policing is in the area of response to criminal activities, because we are only being reactionary in our own country, whereby criminals go carry out their criminal activities, kill everybody, and go back home safely. But state policing will not allow them to go back home safely. That is very important that we understand that the responsive measure is going to be swift. That is one, and also we're going to have a form of deterrence, in place that these guys will know that there's going to be an effective deterrence, because presently we are practicing a centralized policing system where the order flow from Abuja decimates into the 36 states of the country, and that is very slow, and also stops a quick response. So we'll have state policing. It's going to be good. But the argument, the concerns about the state policing is the abuse, so that the politician will not abuse that. So for us to have an effective state policing, the government needs to have an effective structure in place.
Dr. Osajie, is there anything that doesn't have a downside? I mean, we have a situation, and some of the suggestions we put forward is that state policing will help to ameliorate some of our challenges, and the president is saying he's working towards that. However, I want to know your quick thoughts on people who say that the way that the state policing is being talked about doesn't seem like much work is being put in, because the president is making this statement about creating state police at a gathering where delegates just came to pay a courtesy visit. It was not a deliberate act, perhaps, to say, we've done this, and this is where we are at, and this is what we plan to do. So is there perhaps a more strategic way that the president should go about talking about his plans for state police?
Yeah, fantastic. There is a fantastic question. I think the president just, lets it out today to most of these elders from our various communities. But that is not the proper way to address this situation. It's just like a joke, But for me, I think for us to have an effective strategy in place, first of all, the 36 states of the country needs to send him an assessment, carry out a crime mapping analysis of all the states. For example, Lagos State will engage some security professionals to carry out crime mapping analysis of Lagos State, put it together, and also advise the government of Nigeria on what to do in this area, and attain most of the crime-prone area, because some places in Nigeria are safe. So for us to establish state policing, first of all, there should be an assessment of all the states. The funding is also important. Some states might not be able to fund it. So for me, it should be able to speak with everybody, call all the state governors together, and also deliberate on it before, letting it out that we're going to have state policing system.
Dr. Osajie, thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Good night.